no building like it, a modern steel framed high-rise has ever collapsed because of a fire. I don't know why we're cut off there. But this is to verify that no steel frame building has ever come down because of a fire. They don't come down because of a fire. That's why you build them out of steel. And that's why firefighters are not afraid to run into a burning steel frame high-rise. They know it's not going to collapse. It doesn't happen. There's a lot of steel frame buildings have had fires much worse than the fires on 9/11. Here we have examples. In 1970, a 50-story building for 6 hours over 5 floors, etc. You can look at these pictures. There's been some tremendous fires, much more than we saw on 9/11, and those buildings didn't come down. And remember, the buildings on 9/11 only had the fires in them, one of them for 56 minutes, the other one for like an hour and 10 minutes, so they didn't stand that long. All right, now let's look at the collapse field. So here's Building 7 after it collapsed. This is an aerial view. And here's the building, all in the big pile, with the exterior walls standing on the outside of the pile. This is what you expect from controlled demolition. And it's a little bit hard to tell from the photo, but this sidewalk here, here's a building that was just across the street from it, and yet the sidewalk has clear spaces. I mean, the building isn't, it's not like it fell into it or anything. It's perfectly within its own footprint. Didn't even hardly damage the building here. Now, there was a little bit more debris against the building on the other side, but the street here is clear. I mean, that building fell on its own footprint. Didn't hardly spread at all. All right. So now FEMA. People will object when you say that it's controlled demolition. Well, they did all these studies. FEMA did a report, and NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, they did a report. And what about the 9/11 Commission report? So let's see what those reports had to say about Building 7. FEMA says the best hypothesis, fire then complete collapse, has only a low probability of occurrence. Well, they might as well said it was hit by a meteorite, but it only has a low probability of occurrence. They're undercutting their own argument right here within the room. So what does the 9/11 Commission say about Building 7? Not a word. Not a word. Here's the report that's supposed to be the last word on what happened on 9/11. And the third skyscraper that came down, they don't even mention it. Now, we already know, of course, that the 9/11 Commission was completely compromised. Senator McClellan, Max Cleland, resigned from the commission because he said it was so compromised. All right. Now, what does NIST say? NIST can't explain Building 7. But truthfully, I don't really know. We've had trouble getting a handle on Building 7. The report that NIST was supposed to release on Building 7 is 6 years later. It still hasn't been released. 2 years overdue, this report. 2 years late. No indication that, when they're going to put it out. All right, expert corroboration. Now we've got this fellow, is kind of cut off here. This guy is a 27-year expert. His name is Danny Juwenko. He's over in the Netherlands, in Holland, and he has a company that does these demolitions. All right, now we're going to show a video in just a second, and in this video he's shown video of the collapses. And first he's shown the towers, and he says, oh, well, that doesn't look like controlled demolition because it comes from the top down. Well, we'll address that in a minute. And then he's shown Building 7, and he says, go ahead and run the tape. Controlled demolition, of course. All right, now, more evidence of foreknowledge. I wish I could show you this tape. It runs about 20 minutes, and it's available on YouTube. You should look it up. It's very interesting. This is the BBC announcing 20 minutes early that Building 7 has collapsed. And they begin at the hour at 5 o'clock on the Hour News. They're announcing it. And then they have an interview with this woman, Jane Stanley, in New York. She's standing, it's a little bit hard to tell here, but she's standing in front of an open window. And behind her in the open window, as she announces live that Building 7 has collapsed, here stands Building 7. Now here's the really interesting part. As this interview proceeds, and as the clock starts ticking down to the time when this building will actually collapse on live television, right behind her head, right after she's already told the world that it's already collapsed, right before that happens, they lose the satellite feed to London from New York. It buzzes out at 5:16. The building's going to come down at 5:21. At 5:16. Oh, I'm sorry, we lost Jane Stanley. We'll get back to her later. Then, when the BBC was confronted with this evidence just about a year ago, the BBC goes, now you're calling us. You're saying we're in on the conspiracy. conspiracy. Well, no, we're not saying that you're in on the conspiracy, but we would like to know where you got the information that the building had collapsed. They said, well, you know, reporters make mistakes. Well, yeah, reporters make mistakes. If it's the evening news and they're reading off the day's lottery numbers and they get one of the digits wrong, they're going to get a lot of hate mail from people who, you know, thought they had won $1 million and really hadn't. But if they read off the lottery numbers and they get them all right 20 minutes before the drawing, that's not a mistake. Maybe you know, Osama took a trip to New York and planted all those explosives. Well, let's see who's in the building. The CIA has their office there. The IRS, DOD, Mayor Giuliani's emergency management bunker was on floor 23, took up 2 floors. The Securities and Exchange Commission, conveniently, they lost in this demolition all the papers on the Enron station. SBC lost it all. Could Al-Qaeda have snuck in there and done that? I don't think so. All right, so we have shown sudden onset, all the columns go at once, sounds and flashes of explosions, the free fall speed of collapse, straight down into its own footprint. Squibs, you can see squibs, it's not as clear on this one as we'll see on the towers in a moment. The demolition waves, enormous clouds of concrete, iron microspheres, we're going to go into that in some detail. The total dismemberment. We've shown all of this direct evidence of destruction. None of this is evidence of fire. And we backed it up with all these corroborating witnesses. I think we've pretty well shown that Building 7 was controlled demolition. All right? If Building 7 was controlled demolition, and it takes weeks, it really does take weeks to set up, in spite of what Danny Joinko was trying to rack his brain as how you could do it in 7 hours. It can't be done, especially not in the chaos of 9/11. The explosives had to have been placed in advance. Absolute proof that 9/11 was an inside job. But there's more.